I see anti-fascist protests full of people acting fascistically because they're so far up their own arse and so full of their own self-purity, they don't realize that what they're doing is actually projecting their own behavior in what they're opposing. Anyone who gives someone a hard time for having a different view, however much they may not agree with it, is a psychological fascist, in my view, because they are seeking to impose their will on someone else. And it's quite simple. You let all information be circulated, and then people make their own minds up what they want to believe and what they don't believe. And this is a key. What we're seeing now, not least through algorithms, and through self-censorship by being intimidated into being terrified of speaking your truth, we're seeing information censored before the point of delivery, before anyone can hear it. This is fundamental because I believe that all information and all views should be allowed to be expressed. Because if anyone is censored from expressing those beliefs, then no one has freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is freedom of speech, the freedom to speak. It's not freedom to speak what is acceptable, it's the freedom to speak. And once anyone is censored, freedom of speech is dead, because what's left is only what is acceptable to speak, and that's not freedom of speech. And then what they've done, and what they're doing all the time, is squeezing that acceptability, so freedom of speech gets narrower and narrower until it disappears altogether. And so what we have is a situation where if people are allowed to say and communicate whatever they want, that is a situation where no authority in any form has the power to decide what people see and hear. Once you start censoring before the point of delivery, which, as I say, algorithms and self-censorship is now doing, you are giving authority the power to decide what people see and hear. And of course, it starts out with one excuse: we must stop jihadis, justifying or promoting violence. Okay. Oh, fake news. Fake news. What's fake news? Whatever we say it is. Yeah, we've got to stop people saying fake news, so we're going to censor that. Oh, the more people we can get to be victims and upset, the more excuses we've got to censor even more, right? Yeah. So give people all the excuses they want to be upset and to feel a victim, and then we can censor people saying things that upset them. And so you're moving along this road. None of that can happen when we have the free flow of information, nothing censored. So people say, well, what about, saying go and kill people? Yeah, but there's laws against that. There's laws against that. There's laws against telling people, oh, burn that house down. But they're after the point of delivery, which means you can deal with the extremes of how people use speech, but it's heard. Then you can deal with it if it needs dealing with it. And most speech does not need dealing with at all. Come on, let's go and kill this person. Well, obviously, you deal with that. You have to deal with that. But it's after the point of delivery. And as long as we hold that line, authority has no power to censor. What we're seeing now is the opposite of that. Before that line is where most censorship is starting to happen, and thus freedom is disappearing.
What do you think the biggest cover-up on this planet is, David, for your perspective?
Oh, I think the biggest cover-up is the conspiracy in totality. Because, people say to me sometimes, you seem to see conspiracies everywhere. I don't. See one conspiracy with multiple faces and multiple facets. Not the same as seeing conspiracies everywhere. And it's simply this, that there is a cabal that wants to create a situation, which I've been saying since the 1990s and early 1990s, and look at it now, where we have a world government a world central bank, the world government dictating to every community on earth, a world central bank dictating all finance, a world single digital currency, which means that through algorithms and even, human input, you can wipe someone's bank account away because there's no cash in that society. You think you got money? There you go. You can do it. You can do it. Very simply, it's control. You go into a shop now and you hand over a credit card, electronic money, and they say, sorry, won't accept your card. You can still pay cash. When there's no cash and they say, won't accept your card or your microchip as it's meant to be eventually, then whoever controls the computer controls if you have the ability to purchase anything. So that's all about control. They want a world army to impose the will of the world government, and that is the expansion of NATO. This European army is all part of that they're proposing. And they want a microchipped population connected to a global computer system, actually what is known as the smart grid. This technological society is a Trojan horse of monumental proportions. And if people remember nothing, they should remember this. They're now openly talking, people like Ray Kurzweil at the Google executive, Google, Facebook, all these organizations, Amazon, they're all controlled by the same force to the same end. That's why they're becoming monopolies. They're dictating to people what they can see and hear and all that stuff. It's all planned. But what Ray Kurzweil is talking about now, and people like him, is that by around the year 2030, humanity will have their brains connected to artificial intelligence. And he's very open about it. As this goes on, artificial intelligence will do more and more of human thinking until human thinking as we know it now is basically negligible. In other words, you'll be a computer terminal on someone else's internet. And the reason they're being so open about it is the sales pitch, which is you'll be superhuman if you do this. And what you'll be is subhuman, and human consciousness, human thought, human emotion as we've known it will be over. Because every thought, every emotional response will come from AI. He who controls AI will then control every human's perceptions directly who is connected to AI. And we've been taken along a very clear process to take us to that point. Stage one, see, I'm coming up 67. And I'm glad I was born when I have, doing what I'm doing now, because I have a radar. I can remember what the world was like before. People born into it. You see, when you get born into the world you think the world is how it is because you're born into it. This is how it is, okay? But it's not how it always was. And when you're born into the world as it is, you don't really have so much of a compass to get a fix on the world as it is, because it's just how it is. When you were born before it is as it is now, you have a compass, you have a comparison. You can see the scale, the stunning scale of the change, not least since this technological society kicked in and then went kind of on steroids. Stage one, you get the population addicted to technology they can hold. Well, basically achieved, smartphones, tablets, etc. And you target especially the young. Why? Because they're going to be the adults at the point you want to bring in this full-blown AI-controlled human. You want them so addicted and obsessed with technology that, as happens now, on one expression of it, they'll get up in the middle of the night and go and queue in the dark outside an Apple bloody store to get the first version of the new thing. Get them addicted enough and they'll queue up waiting to be connected to AI, right? So that's why they're targeting the young. Stage two, because what you want to do, you want to get in the body. And if they went directly to the body without anything in between, people would go, what's going on? Totalitarian tiptoe, you see. So the next stage is on the body, what they call wearables, holdables to wearables. This is your Apple Watch and your Bluetooth and all these gadgets now that people wear that are connected to the internet. And then you go to the next stage, which is in the body. I spoke a little while ago, last year, in Sweden. And people, thousands of people now in Sweden are being microchipped. And queuing up for it, having parties to celebrate. Ethel's been microchipped. And this is what happens with addiction. It's called addiction for a reason. You're addicted. And so this has been the process that is taking us along, here, kitty, 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 here, kitty, 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 along this road, to the point where they want to introduce fully blown AI-controlled humans. This is where it's going, and it's within the lifetime, well within the lifetime of people alive today. Even those that aren't young, it's within their lifetimes too.